kick off with Clint and I, and we covered the history of Dotster. And part of that rich history was one of our last acquisitions, which turned out to be one of our best, is acquisition of EmailBrain. That was, I think I mentioned, it was in about May of 2008. We acquired EmailBrain out of Miami. And at the time, we were contacted by a former board member, Joe Saviano, contacted me and said the company had been identified as part of our search for value-added services. Since we had tucked under a lot of these domain companies, we wanted to start adding business services and other types of services to the email, to the domain. And so we scheduled a time, and Aurelio flew out. We decided to have him fly out versus us flying to Florida. Joe and Kevin at the time had already visited Aurelio in Florida, so Aurelio flew out, and we met him, I think it was like late January, February, first in 2008, and it was interesting because you stereotype things. Someone's coming from Miami, well, Aurelio shows up, and we're somewhat casual here. It's not that formal, and he had a nice blazer on, and he was just dressed up to the nines, and it was a good first impression. It was love at first sight. Everything went downhill from there. Anyway, so that's kind of from when Dotster first met EmailBrain. And so, I don't know, really, why don't you go way back in time and tell a bit about the start of EmailBrain?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit of the background. It's kind of cool the way EmailBrain came about. It's sort of like an accident. My background, my degree is finance, but I ended up running a nightclub. My parents passed away, so I started a nightclub in the Spanish part of town, and it became a very popular Latin nightclub. And Miami, as you know, is a melting pot. Has a lot of Latin cultures: Venezuelan, Colombian, Argentinian, all of them. So as competition started booming in the Spanish nightclub sector, I was forced to really study the different demographics and find ways to bring them all together.
When was that? Like early 90s?
This was 89 all through the 90s. So sort of by default, you kind of become an expert in marketing to all these different cultures, but you're forced to, understand them, understand what they're like, which ones work together, which ones don't. So so that was happening, and then the internet boom kicked in the mid 90s, and around 96, 97, I took notice, and I said, and I knew I wanted to be part of that. I knew I really wanted to be part of this whole internet thing. And I looked at it, and I figured, how can I be part of this whole internet thing? And, I looked at what I was strong at, and my strengths were, I understood the whole Spanish demographic. And at that time, Yahoo was just Yahoo in English, so I figured, let's do the whole portal thing in Spanish, and we'll do a Spanish portal. And we'll do that. So I started the startup, and we ended up raising $3 million, starting this portal, and with a team of about 20, and we had $30 million in the pipeline around 1999. And in the meantime, I was neglecting the nightclub because I'm focusing on this new dream, which is the whole internet, the portal, the startup, blah blah blah. And next thing you know, so we had this $30 million private placement coming in, and then the market tanks in 2000, in the March of 2000, so there was a due diligence period. They stopped the process, the due diligence process, and they said, let's wait, let's see what happens with this market. So, I previously said we raised $3 million, so we were eating that away, and, the $30 million never went through the market tank. We ate up the $3 million, and, we ended up folding. And it was a painful experience. We ended up folding the company, and I went back to doing what I knew how to do, which is running a nightclub. However, I had all this experience of how to build a company. I understood technology now, and all this stuff. So when I started refocusing in the nightclub business, I had neglected it. So it had, it had trended down. Previously, when businesses trend down and you're doing well and you have cash flow, it's very easy to solve the problem. In the past, I would throw money at the radio, throw money at TV, throw money. You have resources, you can throw them around and bring it back to life. It was very challenging now because the cash flow wasn't there, and we were going under construction, and we were doing some remodeling, a lot of stuff, and so I was forced to really sit down one day, like 2002, a year into this process, and say to myself, what do we do? I asked the question, well, what do I do here? How do I bring this club back to life? And it just kind of hit me, and I had this email list from these old lists that I used to do. We used to do customer we would do the mailings. And it was direct mailing back then, you know. But in the process, we would also get the email. So I remember one day we kind of got a bunch of emails, put them all like in a text pad straight. And I said to myself, I can't be BCCing everybody, you know, at the rate or sending batches of 50. It has to be an easier way to do this. So, you know, I started looking around and I found this desktop solution, this little downloadable solution. You connect it to the SMPT server of your internet connection. And so, you know, I uploaded this little list that I had acquired throughout the years and never used. And I made an invitation, you know, you're all invited to the opening of the VIP, blah, blah, blah. Confirm with this email how many people you want on the guest list for free. And I remember sending that and boom, I got a a tremendous amount of confirmations on this
So you're
list.
saying you invented spam?
So this was before, this was before spam. This was before spam. Before spam. And so I said to myself, well, if that was, I don't know, 500, if I can, you know, increase this number, then I'll increase the number of people coming to the club. And, you know, I started doing that, and we started getting lists from the colleges, et cetera, and marketing, and, you know, doing these blasts. And it was incredibly powerful, you know, and I'll never forget how, you know, just the confirmations would come in. They were very effective, you know. And I said, it started dawning on me, there's something to this whole email communications strategy. And so we kept on doing the same thing, and eventually Bell South disconnected me because of spamming. So I was like, not a problem. I'll go to AT&T, and I started. Next thing I was getting credit cards I was getting different credit cards using different names. And one day they called me and they said, "Listen, we know you're the same person, and you know we're going to take legal action against you." And I'm like, "All right, not a problem." So I had to find a better way to do this. So with the technology, with the experience I had acquired in the startup in the 90s, I figured, well, you know what, there has to be an easier way to do this. I'll create a software, some kind of software. Constant Contact was out there back then. Wasn't getting a lot of exposure. Nobody really knew who they were, but I used that as a model. So I figured, let's create something, my own solution, web-based, that, you know, that'll allow me to do this without all the spamming and SMPT being disconnected. So I started researching and seeing, you know, using Rent-A-Coder and putting out bids, but, you know, it didn't feel right, and it was just too much work. And then I started looking at existing solutions that were very raw to see if they would customize it, and one thing led to another, and I ended up finding our partners, Quattro, which are based out of South Africa. And at that time, they had this like a rapid web creation tool that would allow you to create your website, allow you to host an email, and this was like in 2000, so it's pretty progressive, and had a module that you would be able to get your emails and email to your list. And they were kind of in the process of extrapolating this module and making it a freestanding email marketing solution. It was very crude, very raw, and I found the company through email. I sent them an email, and then on Monday morning I had a response, and we started talking. I told them what I wanted, and they showed me the product, and they asked me what else would I want added to it, and we struck it off. The guy was American, but living out in Belgium, one of the partners, one of the Quattro guys. So we established this relationship, we started specking this out. I ran out and started looking for an email, a domain name, and visualizing how I was going to, create this product that I would use to brand, that I would use to manage my nightclub's email marketing business.
When was this around?
This is around 2003. We launched EmoBrain in the summer of 2003, and I did the due diligence like from January 2003 till May, and then so around that time, so I got the name, and we created a logo, and we built, created some of the copy based on the feature that it was going to have, and we developed this really good relationship because their product was very crude. I knew what I wanted. They weren't good at marketing. They were good at developing. So they would develop what I asked them to develop, and then they would use use my marketing strategy. So we had this great relationship with they would copy what I do, and then they would do what I tell them, blah blah blah. And so they launched their product, which was Graphic Mail 9, and I launched EmoBrain. And somewhere along the line, they were supposed to give me the software, and I said, it's better if you keep managing it, and we struck a deal, and that's how that happened. So we launched in 2003. It was supposed to be only to manage the club, right? But every email that went out, had powered by EmoBrain, right? And I figured, let's do this right. So I connected it to a credit card, I incorporated the company,